We're going to do a Connecticut Yankee.
Yeah.
All new.
Yeah.
We're going to write 4 or 5 new songs
I
together.
have ideas already.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a New York Film Festival, and I've had the luxury of seeing a couple biopics, Blue Moon being one of them, Springsteen being another. And what I found a parallel of these two stories is they're both kind of a snapshot into the lives of these people. For Lorenz, Hart in this movie, we only cover about 2 hours of his life. I'd love for you to both speak to the luxuries you get to play with when you have these kind of snapshot biopics where we hone in on just one evening and telling that story as opposed to spanning multiple decades.
Well, can I jump in? What I like about it is it actually doesn't matter whether it's Larry Hart or Bruce Springsteen. The movie's either interesting or it's not. You're actually just using a fantastic, amazing person to build a character around. And so the movie itself is the drama. When you get into the biopic where you're doing the Wikipedia page of he was born in Oklahoma and he moved to this place and then he got divorced and then he found God and whatever it is, you're not actually telling a story, it's just reportage. Whereas this movie is really interesting if you've heard of Larry Hart, and it's really interesting if you haven't. And from what I hear about the Springsteen movie, it's the same thing. It's just using a really interesting human being to build a character and a narrative off of.
Absolutely. Andrew, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think sometimes in the history of artists' lives, you look at them backwards. You go, they did that, and then did that, and did that, and did that. But there are periods in between lives in an artist's life where there's a kind of precipice, where you go, I don't know what's going to happen. Where an artist might feel, I'm never going to work again. This is going to be a thing, or they.
And once you survive it, people don't believe you really felt that way.
Right, exactly.
And that's the weird thing. Like when you survive really bad reviews or an epic failure of some kind, everybody thinks, oh, but that was good fuel. That's why you grew.
Totally.
And you're like, no, I actually thought I might be dead. I was going to lose this career, and it was not good for me. I was miserable. And when you're in the present tense of your life, you don't know how the next chapter is going to go. So it is really scary.
And I think that's the thing sometimes in biopics, you have to unlearn all the biography,
That's one of the things we loved about this movie was that you're seeing Richard Rodgers in the half an hour before he finds out Oklahoma is a hit. I have this moment I love where I get to say, this is going to be the biggest hit of your life. And you don't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
And he wants that to be true. I don't want that to be true, but he does.
Yeah.
And it's like people telling you, oh, Andrew, you're going to win the Tony for this one. You're like, stop it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't put a hex on it.
And if you're a storyteller, which these people are, the story of when things are going to go wrong, I know when I've been unemployed, your storytelling capacity is enormous. You think, I am never going to, this is never, you do it.
And narrative.
You do. You just, and then the story changes.
Yeah, when those reviews come in, it's a special moment too, because when Richard hears Lorenz of all people say, put that one on the marquee, you can tell that means more to him than any of the other reviews, because it's his mentor after all. Yes. Ethan, is it fair to say, after covering about 2 hours of a story in this runtime, that you've worked with Richard Linklater on both his shortest and longest productions now?
That is fair to say. That is fair to say.
Yes.
Good. I don't.
When I was watching this film and I was realizing, because I went in completely blind, I was like, I think Ethan Hawke has worked with Richard Linklater both, for a decade and for a couple of months as well. That's pretty funny to see.
I'd be curious.
I'm sure
I'd be curious how long it took to shoot Slacker. They might have shot Slacker in 6 days. Who knows?
I'm sure everyone's been asking me about getting immersed in the role, because I was shocked how much you transformed physically. I know that there was probably some movie magic into communicating the hype, but I also thought just vocally, the way that you immersed into this character. Can you kind of give me some of the behind the scenes secrets of how you got lost in the role?
It was so much, Andrew's heard me say this, but actors are only as good as our opportunities. And when you get a great opportunity, you have to seize it. This was an incredibly complex person that required everything I've learned about acting. I mean, there's actors that would do a better job of it. It's if you take on a role like Hamlet or Macbeth or one of these great roles, you're never going to be as good as the part requires. You're just going to come up against the wall of your own talent, and it can always handle more. I felt that way about Larry Hart. I felt like, wow, this is one of those parts Wow, what would Ian McKellen do with this part?
Yeah, right.
What would he do? What would Jack Nicholson do with this part?
Yeah.
You know, what would he do? You know what I mean? It's like
wow.
your brain kind of spins. You're like, well, they would do something magnificent. And then you go, okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I thought you did a tremendous job. Again,
Thank you.
you got lost in the role, which is always the mark of a good performance when you don't see the actor first, you
That's
see the
the
character
dream.
first.
Yeah.
I'll wrap with this, guys. Only got a couple minutes left, but I kind of want you to go in depth on this last question. One of the lines that stuck out to me was towards the very end. I believe it was Larry saying it to Bobby's bartender in the film. He said, "You're the best listener I've ever met." And at the beginning of the film, it's very like, he does seem very engaged, but towards the end, it's like he's just trying to keep him company at the end of the day. But to spin that to you guys as actors in a more positive sense, maybe not the superficial sense that it might be interpreted in this film, who's the best listener you guys have ever met?
Oh wow. You mean personally or professionally?
Yeah, in real life, or people you've worked with. I'm sure you've bounced ideas off of people before.
Such a
had scene
beautiful
partners
question.
when you're
That's a
reading sides
beautiful
for
question.
auditions.
Something I've actually never been asked before.
Yeah.
And I have something extremely, it was nice for me to realize. The truth of the matter is, I'm incredibly lucky. You know, my wife is the best listener I've ever met.
That's wonderful.
She's really a good friend that way. She's actually interested in what other people are saying. Such a, you know, I've spent my life thinking about what I'm going to say next. And when you asked me that question, part of why she's so wonderful to talk to is because she's actually absorbing what you're saying and trying to feel it of what you're communicating. Feels great.
It's a wonderful gift. Yeah, I would say my mom was the best listener. Yeah. I have to say she died. She actually died about 6 weeks before we made our movie, and so you know, when someone isn't a good listener, we know about that. So yeah, I miss that. I miss her for that reason among many.
Wow, well, thank you for opening up with that beautiful anecdote, and Ethan, a very heartwarming note to end this interview on. Thank you both for sharing those beautiful stories. Guys, this is a tremendous picture. I was enthralled the entire time. I have no idea how you each memorized that amount of dialogue. I was trying to pin out the cuts and everything. It felt like a stage production coming to life on the big screen. So I'm sure you have been receiving all the adulation all week, but still, you should be very proud. It's an honor.
We
to
like
talk to you both.
compliments. Compliments are welcome.
Compliments and words of affirmation.
Rodgers and Hart, together again.
All right, closer. Come on, closer.